Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. And I have a question. What's the difference between January's guest here on Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation and President Abraham Lincoln? Curious? You should be. Why am I saying Happy New Year? I have an answer for both of those questions. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation. This podcast was created for the boomer woman leaving corporate, and now you're looking to reinvent yourself, become an author, an entrepreneur, a podcaster. Well, each episode will leave you with clarity. You will come away with the yes, I can and yes, I will reinvent myself mindset. So come on, let's do this. I'm your host, Margo Lovett.
Hello, everyone. My goodness, Happy New Year. And I bet you're wondering, how is she hollering Happy New Year? We are at the end of January. Let me tell you that most of December on into the top of January, January 2021, I was fighting COVID-19. You listening to my voice? Thank you, Lord, that I won that battle. So I want to thank you also for taking time to listen, to subscribe, to be an active part with Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation. When I look back at the women who gave excellent conversations, we just talked about from travel to kindness to getting your business built on a firm foundation, homeschooling, and even sexual trauma. We covered quite a gamut in January 2021 as far as this show goes. So I hope that you listen to each and every episode. Go over to Apple and be sure to rate and review. Let me know how you feel about the episodes in January. So, Dr. Rene Minter, Sheila Farr, Anitra Lane, Kayla Solinsky, and Lisa Niver. When we look at those names and we pair them up with, say, Abraham Lincoln. What's the difference between these ladies and Abraham Lincoln? Oh, I'll tell you. I'll just let you know. I'll tell you. Exposure. Exposure is the difference between these amazing ladies and President Abraham Lincoln. Okay? And you can say, well, Abraham Lincoln's been around a lot longer than these ladies. Oh, yeah, we could argue that point. But the point is that exposure is everything. And I applaud and commend these ladies for the exposure, the steps to move their needle for their exposure at the top of this year. I tell you, Lisa Niver, she's an award-winning journalist. And when you go over to her blog on YouTube, she has tens of thousands of eyeballs and ears over there. But when she came to the show, we laughed. She was transparent. She shared. She's such a giving, gracious woman, and she's smart. She understands that it's often one conversation. You're often one conversation away from really moving the needle for your media coverage, and you never know when that's going to happen. With a podcast, since podcast episodes are evergreen, once it's out there, it's always out there. It's always wise to plant your seeds in a podcast. Be ready to plant your seeds for exposure on a podcast because it's always going to be there. And in all this globe, I mean, we have people in Europe, they are podcasting, people in Africa, Australia, people all over the continent. Lisa Niver has been to 101 countries. I'm sure she can tell you. Folks are listening to podcasts. So she's very wise. She's very, very wise. Kayla Solinsky, she's using the podcast and the feature article that she's in on Won't Lead magazine. She's using that for marketing her school, Macbeth Academy. Because, I know my grandson is homeschooled, and if a kid is not interested in what's being presented to them day in and day out, you have to do something to pique that interest. You have to do something to motivate them. So Kayla uses the conversation that we had, and she paired it up with a feature spread from Womb Lead magazine in January, and she uses that to market Macbeth Academy. Anitra Lane, same thing. She came on to the podcast ready to move the needle for Unmasked Warrior Project. She was ready to get the word out. Ladies, if you've experienced sexual trauma while you were serving this country, I have a place for you. I prepared a place for healing where you can take the mask off and join forces with those who have been there, done that, that understand you. So she alone also is using it as a marketing opportunity, and she's maxing it out. I see her everywhere, which is good. You get a podcast, get on a podcast, and you just move from that podcast to another podcast to another podcast. Get yourself a trail so that it's exposure. People know you so that they can get start talking about you, so that they can make referrals to you, so that people understand what your message is and what you're all about, that they can understand that you have a service that maybe my cousin Susie needs. So, but if you don't have exposure, then people can't make those decisions. You see what I'm trying to get at? Dr. Rene Minter and Sheila Farr. Oh my goodness, Sheila Farr will help you build your business. She will help you with HR, but she does it from the inside out. She also offers yoga classes online. Yeah, she has a brick and mortar, but she also knew with pandemic, I better bring it online also. And now she has clients in all over the globe, but she still makes it available for you to build your small business from the inside out. And that's I'm using my term inside out because you have to take a holistic approach to being an entrepreneur. And we all know that if you're stressed out beyond belief, you're not going to hear what she's teaching you as far as HR goes or how to build out your business plan. None of that is going to click if you're stressed out. So she has a beautiful, beautiful way of helping small business owners really get their wheels on the road. And Dr. Rene Minter came on and she taught about kindness. Coming out of two very debilitating illnesses, how does she share kindness in this world the way she does? Psychotherapist. How do you share kindness to people that other people look down upon? It was a fascinating conversation. But Dr. Rene Minter and Sheila Farr came on. They paired our conversation with feature article. And do you know, the same month that all of this came out, they're part of an anthology. And that anthology went to Amazon bestseller. So I think you can see the pattern of how you build. You get one thing going, and then you have your hat in another ring. It's all about exposure. Now these ladies are their confidence is up. They are ready. I mean, they are in other print media. They are on other podcasts. They are on summits. They are selling books. So it all comes by way of exposure. And you are the captain of your own exposure. If you are an entrepreneur, I want you, here we are at the end of January, but I want you to go through the rest of the year with the word exposure first and foremost. What does it do for you? What do you need? I've given you examples of how far reaching it's been for all of these ladies. And even if you have tens of thousands of eyeballs and ears, don't sleep on exposure. Lisa Niver is an excellent example of that. Does she need to come onto the show? And some people's estimate, heck no. But she did. And I've seen she's on other people's shows. TV stations are seeking her out. She started a magazine. So you keep going. Her women are her demographic, And she just stays in the forefront. Stay out there so that people can see her. What's she up to now? What country did she go to? Oh, I can't travel. My passport is in the drawer. Well, I guess I'll go over to YouTube and check out Lisa Niver's YouTube channel. Hey, Galapagos Islands or any of the 101 countries she's visited. That'll tide me over until I can get back on a plane. You take it from that point of view. So, do you have a message that you're trying to get out to people? Podcast guest or start your own podcast, okay? And if you get an opportunity to marry a podcast interview with a high profile magazine that speaks to your demographic, you better run to that opportunity. I mean, gallop to it because the jet propulsion that it puts you on is no joke. I can tell you more stories of people who have done this. They paired podcasts. They've gone from one podcast to another podcast. They've gone on podcast junkets, and along the way they've shown up in magazines on TV, and you know the stories also. So exposure, that's your key word for the rest of the year. That takes me on into February. What is her business, her voice, her conversation going to be all about? It is Black History Month, and I am going to give exposure to some women that we don't know them by their first name or the last name necessarily, but we think like they think. We believe like they believe. We cook like they cook. Our motives are the same. And so I'm going to give these few ladies some exposure so that now you can put a name with the action. When you do it, you can say, oh, yeah, that person did it also. And look at the change that they made in history. All right? Also, I am going to bring back some conversations with some fabulous African American folks who have been on my podcast. It is African American history. These folks came onto my show. They made history because they spread how to information. They gave instructions and the inspiration that came from these folks. I know that you need to hear these episodes again. So I'll just give you a couple names. I'm going to bring back the conversation that I had with Brother Bedford. Brother Bedford is one marketing genius, and he's been telling Black folks for years they had better become entrepreneurs. And now look at what's happening. AI is on our heels. It used to be a couple miles back. Now it's just a couple of blocks. Before you know it, it's going to be knocking on your door if it isn't already. So he's going to come on, and I'm going to bring that episode back to you. Princess Banton, you know her from the Real Housewives of Atlanta. She is the reason why we know of the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Yeah, that was a fascinating conversation. So I won't take time to try to give you all of the names, but on Thursday, Friday, Saturday of all of February, I am going to bring on conversations that I've had with people, and they are going to change your life. Please listen over on Apple because I'm asking you to be sure to leave a rate and review for each and every episode that you listen to. That gives me feedback concerning how you felt about that. Did it feed you? Did it give you the inspiration, the how-to instruction and information that you were looking for? That's your way of telling me what you think about these episodes. So please, all of February, go over to Apple. I'll be sure to have the link supplied to you. Go over to Apple, and every episode that you listen to, I am asking you for a rate and review. You don't even have to buy one of my books. Go over to Apple and give me a rate and review. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all of February, I am going to bring you a whole lot of information coming from folks that you may not necessarily know. but the information, the instruction, the inspiration is going to be life-changing. All right? Well, that's it for this episode. I'm Margo Lovett. Again, I say thank you for listening. If this episode rang a bell for you, go over to Apple and leave a rate and review. I am quite serious about that. I'm on a mission. I need to hear from you one way or another. Okay? So I'll be back next week. More episodes here on Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation.
Podcast guests show up on purpose. They are ready to impact the world. Let Media Package convert your interview into a 2-page feature article in a leading women's leadership magazine. Over 40,000 readers. Tell your story. Expand your reach. Media Package. Details are in the show notes. I want to thank you for listening to Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation. Couple of things that I want you to do. Right now, go to my website, pick up a copy of Her Business, Her Voice, Her Reinvention, how I went from game show hopping to international show host, author, and speaker in 1 year. Number 2, please freely listen to each and every episode. Share them out with your family, friends, the men in your lives. And then number 3, get in contact with me, one of the experts that have been on the show, because I want to make sure that you reinvent yourself. I'll be back next week with a brand new episode here on Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation.